Welcome to another Be Awesome podcast. This podcast is a product result of the Be Awesome Erasmus Plus project, promoting teachers' professional development and inclusion through the integration of emerging technologies in the teaching of children with autism. Today, we're going to talk about parents and teachers' use of digital learning environments to develop social skills in children with autism, specifically behavioral skills. Today, we have with us to help delve into the topic, Dr. Evangelia Boutskou, Director of Primary Education of Western Thessaloniki, former school advisor and special education teacher. Hello, welcome to this Be Awesome podcast.
Hello.
Thank you for accepting our invitation.
It's my pleasure.
It will be a very fruitful conversation. Let's do this, shall we?
Definitely.
So, let's start with our first question. Dr. Boutskou, how does autism impact behavior?
Behavior is everything that we do. It's how we act in any situation. As we develop, our behavior is not just a response to another person's behavior, but to our understanding of why people behave a certain way. There is always a reason why we behave the way we do. Autism can influence the way that the person attends, interprets, and responds to others and the world around them. This often means the behaviors that a person with autism displays in situations or interactions can be unexpected. This is part of the diversity of our world. If you are on the spectrum, you might be detail-oriented, good at identifying irregularities, and illogical thinking. So, you might notice specific information or be good at solving problems on topics the others may not see or notice. You might process sensory information differently, which gives you a unique way of experiencing the world. If you need a strict routine to feel safe and secure, you might always be on time and get frustrated when others are not. Other ways that autism can impact on behavior can be more challenging. Aggressive behavior may be the outward expression of your frustration at not being able to express what you want. Self-harming behaviors may also occur when you are feeling overwhelmed by too much sensory input coming in. People on the autism spectrum may behave in unexpected ways. Reasons for this can include the following: being unaware of other people's wants, needs, or desires, having trouble communicating your own needs, wants, or desires, finding it hard to predict other people's behaviors and not knowing what behaviors are expected in different situations, having underlying physical, neurological, mental, or emotional health issues that impact your well-being, having sensory issues that you are responding to, such as lights, or touch causing pain, or loud noise making it difficult to focus, being hypervigilant or unable to self-regulate, which means you are more reactive in a situation rather than stopping and thinking before acting. People with autism may be more detailed in developing what is known as theory of the mind, or may not develop it at all. Overall, theory of mind involves understanding another person's knowledge, beliefs, emotions, and intentions, and using that understanding to navigate social situations. This can lead to some of the behaviors mentioned above, such as not knowing what behaviors are expected in social situations.
What are behaviors of concern?
Generally speaking, a behavior becomes a behavior of concern when it starts to impact our quality of life or negatively affects those around us. When a behavior becomes a concern, it is important to identify the reason for this behavior. Often, a concerning behavior happens when a person with autism cannot cope or is overwhelmed, but it is unable to express it. All behaviors have one or more triggers that prompt them, such as an interruption to a routine, a particular noise, or an object that brings back a painful and overwhelming memory. Once the reason for the behavior is understood, strategies can be put in place to minimize it or to replace it with a new, more beneficial behavior. The best way to reduce behaviors of concern is to ensure you understand why the behavior is occurring in the first place. Sometimes the reason may seem obvious, but more often than not, the reason the person is displaying a behavior is complex. There are many different techniques and strategies that are used in behavioral interventions, and there is no single approach that works for everyone. If one isn't successful, it doesn't mean another won't be. Often, they work best as part of a multi-component approach. It is important to remember that it can often take time when trying to address long-standing behaviors of concern, but through a structured, planned approach, behaviors of concern can be reduced, improving the quality of life for the individual and those around them. Make sure you take time to celebrate successes.
And what are the commonly used behavioral strategies by teachers and parents?
There are different behavioral strategies that are used at schools and at home. For example, ABA, Applied Behavioral Analysis. When talking about behavioral interventions, you might hear the term Applied Behavioral Analysis or ABA. This is sometimes called Early Intensive Behavioral Intervention or Intensive Behavioral Intervention. All of these terms refer to a range of techniques or strategies that are sometimes used in behavioral intervention. Generally, they involve identifying a behavior or skill, setting a goal towards it, and teaching in it a highly structured way, in tiny steps that can be easily achieved. Progress is measured throughout, so that changes can be made to suit the person's needs. Early intensive behavioral intervention assists children on the autism spectrum by combining several therapies or elements of therapies to create a targeted approach. Another strategy is using positive reinforcement to encourage behaviors. Positive reinforcement is when something positive occurs after a desired behavior occurs, such as receiving praise or getting to do something we like as a reward for the new alternative behavior. Positive reinforcement can help motivate the person showing concerning behaviors to use new skills or desirable behaviors. Note that some people on the spectrum respond best to concrete reinforcement as they can have difficulty understanding how other people feel. When using positive reinforcement, make sure the reward is something that will really motivate them. It could be verbal praise or a token, such as a treat or an activity they enjoy, time spent on their favorite interests, etc. Combine the token with verbal praise. Use descriptive praise to communicate clearly what they are being praised for. For example, saying, "I really like the way you wash your hands with the soap." In the beginning, use the positive reinforcement every time they demonstrate the new skill or behavior. Once the skill is learned, gradually fade the reward out. Don't be tempted to offer the reward before the behavior. Then it is no longer reinforcing the behavior, it is creating it through bribery, which is less in the long term. In addition, never take a reward away or use it as punishment. If positive reinforcement is not working, review it to look at why and just adjust. Another strategy is antecedent-based interventions. Antecedent-based interventions are modifications made to an environment or context with the aim of changing or shaping a person with autism behavior. They are typically implementing following a behavioral assessment factoring in the environment that may be impacting. Anti-symptom-based interventions may include changing educational activities or materials, incorporating choice in educational activities or materials, priming ahead of time for upcoming activities, varying the format, difficulty level, or order of instruction during activities. Enriching environments to provide additional visual cues or access to sensory stimuli, modifying and reinforcing schedules. These strategies are often used in conjunction with other evidence-based practices, including functional communication training and reinforcement.
So, which are the key points for the behavioral management strategy?
When children can do the things they want or need to do, they are more likely to cooperate. They are also less likely to get frustrated and behave in challenging ways. This means that helping children learn new skills can be an important part of managing behavior. When children learn new skills, they also build independence, confidence, and self-esteem. So helping children learn new skills can be an important part of supporting overall development too. There are three key ways you can develop children to learn everything from basic self-care to more complicated social skills, and they are modeling, instruction, and step-by-step. Remember that skills take time to develop and practice is important. Concerning modeling, throughout watching you, the child learns what to do and how to do it, and this is modeling because you are modeling. Modeling is usually the most efficient way to help children learn a new skill. For example, you are more likely to show rather than tell the child how to sweep a floor or throw a ball. Modeling can work for social skills. Prompting your child with phrases like "thank you, mom" or "more please" is an example of this. You can also use modeling to show the child skills and behavior that involve non-verbal communication, like body language and tone of voice. For example, you can show your turn to face people when you talk to them, or look them in the eyes and smile when you thank them. Children also learn by watching other children. For example, the child might try new foods when other children at school, even though they might not do this at home with the parents. How to make modeling work well? Get the child's attention and make sure the child is looking at you. Move slowly through the steps of the skill so that the child can clearly see what you are doing. Point out the important parts of what you are doing. Give the child plenty of opportunities to practice the skill once they've seen you two do it. For example, okay, now we have a go. As far as instructions are concerned, you can help the child learn how to do something by explaining what to do or how to do it. How to give good instructions? Give instructions only when you have the child's attention. Use the child's name and encourage the child to look at you while you speak. Get down to the child's physical level to speak. Remove any background distractions. Use language that the child understands and keep your sentences short and simple. Use a clear, calm voice. Use gestures to emphasize things that you want the child to notice. Gradually, phase out your instructions and reminders as the child gets better at remembering how to do the skill or task. A picture that shows the child what it can do helps them understand the instruction. The child can check the picture when they are ready to work through the instructions independently. This can also help children. As far as step-by-step guidance is concerned, you should remember that you should break down tasks. Some skills or tasks are complicated or involve a sequence of actions. You can break these actions and these skills or tasks into smaller steps. The idea is to help children learn the steps that make up a skill or task one at a time. How to step-by-step guidance? First of all, start with the easiest step if you can. Show the child the step and then let them try it. Then give the child more help with the rest of the tasks or do it for them. Give the child opportunities to practice the steps. Then the child can do the step reliably and without your help. Teach them the next step and so on. Keep going until the child can do the whole skill or task for themselves. An example of step-by-step guidance is the following. For example, here is how you could break down the task of getting dressed. Get clothes out. Put on underpants. Put on socks. Put on shirt. Put on pants. Put on a jumper. You could break down each of these steps into parts as well. This can help if a task is complex or if the child has learning difficulties. For example, put on a jumper could be broken down like this. Face the jumper the right way. Pull the jumper over the head. Put one arm through. Put your other arm through. Put the jumper down. Remember that behavior might get worse before it improves, especially if you are asking more from your child. Greta Thunberg said, "I have Asperger's syndrome, and that means I'm sometimes a bit different from the norm. And given the right circumstances, being different is a superpower." And we, as teachers or parents, we should remember that if students can't learn the way we teach, we should definitely teach them the way they learn.
In conclusion, autism can influence the way that the person interprets and responds to the world around them. People with autism may struggle navigating social situations and behave in unexpected ways. Their behavior can only cause concern when it starts to affect their quality of life and those around them. But this always happens for a reason, which should be identified so that the right approach of behavior intervention is employed. Examples of behavioral strategies that have been mentioned are the applied behavior analysis for early intensive intervention, the use of positive reinforcement to encourage desired behaviors, and antecedent-based interventions, which include modifications in the educational context. Whatever the strategy, however, what should always be taken into consideration is that any child learns by watching and listening to adults calmly and clearly explaining skills or tasks step by step with encouragement along the way. Thank you for listening to us. If you liked it, don't forget to share. You can also find out more information and follow the project development on our social networks, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Be Awesome Project.